Welcome to Tech I Spy. Today, we step into the beating heart of Latin American digital life and follow the yellow vans, the parcel scanners, and the glowing phone screens to a company that stitched a marketplace, a payments rail, and a delivery network into one living organism. This episode is about Mercado Libre. Picture a typical day in the region. A small business lists a product before breakfast. A shopper finds it over lunch and pays with a wallet that lives on their phone. By evening, the order is already moving through a fulfillment center that hums like a well-tuned orchestra. The same account that paid for a pair of headphones can later send money to a family member, clear a bill at a corner shop, and even finance a larger purchase when cash is tight. One brand sits quietly at the center of all of that. It is not just a store, it is an ecosystem. Mercado Libre began with a simple promise: make buying and selling possible for anyone with a connection. Over time, the promise widened: move money with the same ease. Build couriers, routes, and warehouses that shorten distance and time. Introduce credit where banks are cautious. Protect trust with buyer guarantees and seller discipline. Turn a scattered landscape into a single experience that feels familiar whether you live in a dense city or a provincial town. The story matters because technology adoption in Latin America has not been a straight line. Infrastructure is uneven. Regulation shifts. Inflation bites. Roads flood. Yet the region is creative and stubborn in the best way. A platform that thrives here must solve real-world frictions, not just software puzzles. Mercado Libre does this by owning more of the journey from click to doorstep, and by making its financial technology feel like a natural extension of daily life rather than an add-on. In this episode, we will test the machinery. We will look at the strengths that make the flywheel spin, the weak links that could snap under load, the opportunities that open as more people move online, and the threats that gather at the edges of the map. The goal is not hype. The goal is clarity. By the end, you should have a felt sense of how Mercado Libre actually works and what that means for builders, investors, and everyday users across the continent. Let us begin. Strengths. Mercado Libre's greatest strength is its ecosystem. Few companies outside Asia have managed to weave commerce, payments, logistics, and credit into a single functioning cycle. In Latin America, it did not just copy the models of Amazon or Alibaba, it built a hybrid that fits the landscape. The result is a platform that feels native. A buyer enters through the marketplace, a seller receives funds through Mercado Pago, the parcel travels via Mercado Envios, and if needed, the buyer or seller can access credit through Mercado Credito. Each part feeds the others, creating what engineers would call a closed loop, and what economists might describe as a self-reinforcing moat. Another strength is trust, earned over time. In a region where scams, unreliable deliveries, and informal trade have shaped habits for decades, Mercado Libre's dispute resolution system and buyer guarantees are powerful psychological tools. It gives first-time users the confidence to complete a purchase online, and that confidence compounds with every smooth transaction. The brand's bright yellow color, its clean interface, and its consistent user experience have become synonymous with safety in a digital environment that can often feel uncertain. Its third major strength lies in logistics. Rather than outsourcing fulfillment, Mercado Libre invested heavily in its own distribution centers, last-mile couriers, and real-time tracking. This physical backbone lets the company promise reliability in places where infrastructure can be fragile. Delivery routes that once took days now complete in hours, and even remote areas are increasingly reachable through regional hubs. That ability to shrink geography in markets like Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina is not a luxury. It is a competitive advantage few can replicate. Then there is data. Every purchase, payment, and shipment generates information that the company can use to predict demand, prevent fraud, and refine lending decisions. While traditional banks often judge creditworthiness by paperwork, Mercado Libre can measure behavioral patterns directly from its own ecosystem. A small merchant with strong sales history can be offered microcredit automatically, creating a virtuous cycle between trade and finance that keeps people inside the platform. The final strength is resilience. Mercado Libre was born in economic turbulence, raised through inflation, and grew while currencies crashed and governments changed. It learned to survive volatility as a normal condition. That cultural trait gives it a patience and adaptability that many foreign entrants lack. When global giants tried to expand aggressively into Latin America, they discovered that speed and scale alone do not guarantee survival. Mercado Libre's strength is not just its size, it is its endurance and the regional wisdom built into its code and its warehouses. Together, these strengths form a picture of a company that has become more than a marketplace. It is the digital skeleton of an emerging economy, flexible enough to grow and strong enough to hold its shape when the ground shifts beneath it. Weaknesses. For all its power and presence, Mercado Libre still carries vulnerabilities that trace back to the region it serves and the structure it has built. The first is dependence. Nearly every part of the business depends on Latin America's unpredictable economies. Inflation, currency swings, and political change can move faster than strategy. A sudden shift in import duties, a new digital tax, or a devaluation of the peso can rewrite forecasts overnight. Even with clever financial hedging, this dependence creates noise that investors and managers can never fully control. What looks like growth in local currency may vanish when translated to dollars. The second weakness is operational complexity. By building everything from marketplace tools to logistics depots and financial services, Mercado Libre carries the weight of an empire. Each division must perform flawlessly for the experience to remain seamless. A single glitch in payment processing or a breakdown in delivery flow can damage trust across the whole ecosystem. Maintaining that machine across 18 countries, each with its own rules, is exhausting. It requires deep local management talent and constant reinvestment. Customer experience, once a badge of pride, is another weak point. As the company has scaled, complaints have become louder. Shoppers report difficulty reaching human support, and sellers face pressure from automated account suspensions or disputed transactions they cannot easily appeal. These small frustrations do not appear on balance sheets, yet they erode loyalty at the edges where rivals can quietly win converts. A platform built on trust must guard it every day. Competition also exposes fragility. Amazon, Shopee, and regional newcomers are all adapting to local conditions. While Mercado Libre still holds first place, it cannot relax. Its success attracts imitators who pick at specific areas, cheap imports, fashion verticals, or targeted fintech offerings. Each of these can drain user attention and chip away at margins. The final weakness lies in infrastructure cost. Owning warehouses, vehicles, and payment networks is expensive. During growth years, the model shines. In leaner times, it becomes heavy. The more the company internalizes, the less flexible it becomes. A purely digital rival can pivot quickly. Mercado Libre must maintain staff, vehicles, and real estate that cannot easily shrink with market demand. These weaknesses do not define failure. They describe friction, the kind that accumulates naturally when a company tries to build an entire economy inside itself. But they remind us that Mercado Libre's success story is also a balancing act between growth and control, automation and empathy, ambition and sustainability. Opportunities. Mercado Libre stands at a turning point where the next wave of Latin America's digital evolution could lift it to an entirely new scale. The first opportunity is financial inclusion. Across the continent, tens of millions of people still live outside the formal banking system. They are paid in cash, save in cash, and often distrust institutions that seem distant or predatory. Mercado Pago, the company's financial arm, bridges that divide by making every phone a potential wallet. The more daily life moves through this digital wallet, paying rent, splitting a bill, recharging a transport card, the deeper the company's reach becomes. Each new transaction strengthens the bond between user and platform, while creating data that can seed microloans, insurance, and savings products designed for local realities rather than imported models. The second opportunity lies in logistics expansion. Latin America's geography is vast, with cities separated by mountains, jungles, and deserts. The company's growing network of fulfillment centers and delivery partners could become not only a backbone for e-commerce, but also a national infrastructure service. Small businesses, local farmers, and independent artisans could all ride on that network to reach markets they could never touch before. A future in which Mercado Libre handles third-party logistics, even for competitors, is entirely possible. There is also a strong technological opportunity in artificial intelligence. With so many transactions flowing through its systems, Mercado Libre can train models that understand the rhythm of Latin American commerce better than almost anyone. From dynamic pricing to fraud prevention and predictive delivery routing, the potential for smarter automation is enormous. Every small efficiency multiplied by millions of orders translates into significant savings and faster service. Cross-border expansion offers another horizon. The company has already established itself across 18 nations, but integration between those markets remains uneven. Streamlined customs processes, unified seller dashboards, and simplified currency conversion could turn the region into one connected marketplace instead of a patchwork. That would make local sellers exporters overnight and invite global sellers to treat Latin America as one coherent zone rather than a collection of fragmented markets. Sustainability and green logistics add a newer layer of potential. Electric delivery vehicles, recycled packaging, and carbon-neutral fulfillment are beginning to matter to consumers who want responsible brands. If Mercado Libre moves early and tells that story well, it can build emotional equity with a generation that wants progress without guilt. Finally, there is opportunity in education and enablement. As small sellers evolve into micro-brands, they need guidance in marketing, finance, and digital storefront management. Mercado Libre can become not just a platform, but a teacher, raising the skill level of the entire small business sector. That investment pays itself back through loyalty and growth. Taken together, these opportunities show a company positioned to evolve from regional champion to continental infrastructure. Its next decade may be less about selling products and more about wiring the economic nervous system of an entire region, connecting the unbanked, empowering the underrepresented, and making the invisible economy visible. Threats. For every bright opportunity ahead of Mercado Libre, there is an equally sharp shadow. The company lives in a region where progress and disruption share the same street, and that makes its position both powerful and precarious. The first and most immediate threat is political instability. Governments across Latin America change course frequently, and each new administration brings fresh rules about taxation, data, and labor. A sudden shift in policy can freeze an expansion plan or trap capital inside a country's borders. Regulations around digital payments and consumer credit are tightening everywhere. and compliance in one market may not protect the company in another. Even a hint of regulatory hostility can scare investors, depress the share price, and make long-term planning difficult. The second threat is competition, both foreign and domestic. Amazon has not abandoned the region. It is learning, adapting, and quietly building trust in key cities. Chinese platforms such as AliExpress and Temu can flood markets with ultra-cheap goods, capturing price-sensitive consumers before local merchants can respond. At the same time, regional startups are nibbling at specialized niches, groceries, fashion, or second-hand goods where Mercado Libre's broad approach can seem impersonal. The company's advantage is breadth, but that same breadth can slow its response to small, agile rivals. Cybersecurity stands as another major threat. With payments, credit, and personal data passing through its servers, Mercado Libre is a prime target for sophisticated attacks. One breach could shatter consumer confidence and invite regulatory penalties. Protecting user trust demands constant investment. Yet even the strongest defenses are never absolute. There is also a social threat in perception. As the company grows, so do expectations. Consumers and politicians may begin to view Mercado Libre not as a champion of progress, but as a giant extracting value from local economies. Accusations of monopolistic behavior or unfair treatment of small sellers could trigger investigations or boycotts. The same dominance that once inspired pride could, in time, provoke resentment. Inflation and currency depreciation remain constant hazards. When local currencies lose value, the cost of imported goods rises and consumer spending shrinks. Even the most loyal users can pause their purchases if basic living costs soar. For a company whose operations span countries with fragile economies, each new crisis can ripple through the supply chain. Finally, there is the threat of technological stagnation. Innovation in artificial intelligence, logistics automation, and digital identity is accelerating globally. If Mercado Libre becomes comfortable in its current success and fails to evolve as fast as the world around it, its advantage will erode quietly from beneath. These threats remind us that Mercado Libre is not untouchable. It operates on a dynamic frontier where technology, politics, and society collide. Its future will depend on constant reinvention and on its ability to stay trusted in a region that trusts cautiously. The company has built a vast network, but it must keep proving, year after year, that it still deserves to be the one holding the threads together. Conclusion. Mercado Libre is more than a marketplace. It is a mirror of Latin America's digital awakening. What began as a simple trading site at the end of the 1990s has evolved into an economic network that touches millions of daily lives. Its strengths are tangible trust, infrastructure, integration, and endurance, and these form a foundation that few regional competitors can match. Its weaknesses, though, remind us that growth carries weight, complexity, customer frustration, and the constant battle against inflation and bureaucracy are the price of ambition. The opportunities ahead are immense. Financial inclusion, artificial intelligence, and sustainable logistics each represent new frontiers where Mercado Libre can define not just commerce, but the shape of modern life in its region. Yet every step forward is shadowed by risk. Political unpredictability, cyber threats, and global rivals are waiting for any sign of complacency. In the end, Mercado Libre's story is about resilience. It thrives in chaos, finds order in disorder, and keeps building while others hesitate. For investors, it offers a glimpse of what a locally born, regionally rooted, technologically sophisticated company can achieve when it plays the long game. For citizens, it is a reminder that innovation can come from within, not just from Silicon Valley or Shenzhen. Thank you for watching this Tech I Spy analysis. If you enjoyed exploring the inner workings of Mercado Libre and the forces shaping its future, remember to like, subscribe, and share the episode. Each week we dive into another company at the edge of technology and economy, examining how ideas become empires and where those empires might go next. Until next time, this has been Tech I Spy, seeing beyond the numbers into the machinery of progress.